What's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by MSOTD Rocks, where rock metal thrives. Hey, we're giving you a happy Wednesday episode. Yes, we are. But before we jump into it today, I want to thank our sponsor, Phoenix Fitness. Concerts are back, man. I'm in those mosh pits. I'm going nuts, but I got to make sure my fitness level's up because, well, I'm in a lot of mosh pits. I don't want to tap out halfway through, especially in a 4-day festival. So I'm in the gym pumping iron, doing as much cardio as possible. Got to make sure I hit my fitness goals for this stuff. But I also take a lot of vitamins and supplements to make sure that I can recover well, get ready, and just keep my body moving to hit those goals. And Phoenix Fitness helps with different proteins, AM and after workout proteins, BCAA recovery supplements, pre-workouts, multivitamins, whatever you might need to hit your fitness goals to help you achieve those. Phoenix Fitness has it. Our listeners get 15% off your entire order at phoenixfitness.com by using the code MSOTD. Link in the description of the podcast for you guys to check that out. Make it as easy as possible. Thank you, Phoenix Fitness. Now on to our featured presentation, because earlier this year I got to talk with Nick from the band Ascent Like Wolves, and I really enjoyed the talk with him. I really got to enjoy getting to know the band as well. Well, the drummer for Ascent Like Wolves, his name is Cody, and he has another project as well that he's been working on called The Difference Between, a post-hardcore band that takes the old post-hardcore sound, mix it with some of the newer stuff to really give you a nostalgia but fresh feel. And I got to talk with him along with vocalist Chris Roberts on today's podcast. We go deep into not only the creation of the band during the pandemic, but also into the two singles that are right now, Envenom and Detach. We go so deep into those. You're going to be wondering how you missed this band's release and how you missed their immersion. So enough with me talking. Let's get into it. Are you guys ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. Lately, it seems like I've been kind of going a little bit of like a post-hardcore binge, and I got an email from one of these guys talking about how he's got another project out there right now. They're making some great new post-hardcore music. I'm like, okay, let's go check this out. It took maybe 2 days from that email being sent to me to us talking right now. So please welcome from the band The Difference Between, Cody and Chris. So guys, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. This all happened pretty fast. I'm really happy that you got us on. Glad you took interest in the new bands.
Well, I also have to say a big shout out to also Answer PR and Mr. Nick Boats from Ascent Like Wolves, because doing that interview with him is most likely what led me to you guys, because Cody, you are also the drummer for that same band. So there's already kind of a connection there, and now we get to talk to you and get to talk to Chris and get to talk about a whole nother project as well. So, woo!
Yeah, love it.
So as we start out this podcast, because you guys have not been on the podcast yet, whenever I have new guests, I always like to ask 3 very specific questions to kind of get everything rolling. The first 2, very simple, very easy. If you can't answer them, I'm going to have questions for you guys. But the third one's always my favorite. So the first 2 are, what is your name? The second is, when it comes to the difference between, what do you do in the band? And the third one is, I want to know a little fun, wacky, interesting fact or fun story about yourselves that will hopefully make me laugh my ass off, fall out of my chair, hit my head on the table, and give me a second concussion. I've heard some crazy ones to give you guys some examples of a band chloroform their lead singer, dragging him to a beach in Florida, burying him halfway in the sand, making it look like his legs got cut off by a shark or something like that, sprayed a bunch of like ketchup around, make it look like fake blood. Or I've also heard one where the guys that I was talking to, they were on tour, driving in the van. Guy in the front seat had to go relieve himself. There was no rest area, so he just went in a cup, threw the cup out the window, only for the cup to come in through a different window and give the drummer sitting in the back row a golden shower.
That's some good stuff.
So whichever one you guys are ready, take it away.
Well, my name's Cody Frain. I play drums in The Difference Between, and we're a brand new band, so we don't really have any crazy, wacky stories together with us, but I guess one is I drive 11 hours to see them, just to sit in the studio a lot and drink beers and write music. So that's pretty great. And we just did that last week, recorded a whole LP. It's going to be pretty sick. But I have plenty of crazy, wacky stories from touring and Ascent Like Wolves and just my other projects. One pretty funny one is we played the show in Dothan, Alabama. I'm ignorant. I suck. So hopefully I said it right. But in Dothan, Alabama, and we get there and it's like this like warehouse basically, or like a storage facility, like in the middle of nowhere. And we're like, what the hell is this? It's like on something like Deliverance or something, some crazy backwoods like area. And then we think we got to the wrong spot. Then all of a sudden, this guy shows up in just like a tuxedo shirt. This huge guy, and he comes up to me. He's like, "You in the band? My name's Bullfrog." I was like, "All right, sick." So anyway, like it was like a hardcore prom theme. Actually, Chris's band, the other Chris Wethington, our guitar player, his band Soft Spoken played as well, and it ended up being like this hardcore prom. And it was probably the sloppiest show I've ever been to, man. Like there was just people just like in this like storage facility turned venue, like super DIY backwoods thing. There's like 80 kids there in like prom dresses and suits and holding like handles of whiskey, just drinking it and stuff, like coming up to us on stage, pouring stuff on our mouth and whatnot. And like by the end of it, I was also the tour manager at the time. So I went to go get the money from the booking agent, Bullfrog, who at this point in the night just was wearing a tuxedo shirt and literally no pants. Got just dicks ablazing, just happy-go-lucky, just looking me right in the eyes, just squaring up with me. Just, yeah, man, you guys were great. So when you coming back, just like, you want some of this whiskey? And just, man, I had such a blast, dude. But Bullfrog, if you're hearing this, I appreciate you.
Oh, I love the fact that by the end of the night, the Bullfrog was just straight shirt cocking it like a toddler.
Just a tuxedo shirt and literally just completely naked below anything else in that. Just dicks ablazing.
Well, I've got a couple of weddings I have to go to in October this year for two very dear friends, and I feel like shirt cocking with a tuxedo t-shirt might be actually perfect attire for the first one I have to go to. So I may have to take the inspiration from Bullfrog on that one.
I mean, Bullfrog knew how to party, so if you go there like that, they're going to know you're ready to party.
Well, it's like a tuxedo t-shirt. It's like, I want to be formal, but I'm here to party.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I tell you what, he was partying at that point, but how could you not?
Oh, absolutely. How could you not? It just makes perfect sense. And oh man, I'm taking that idea for myself. Hell, I'm going to a couple of shows and right after we shoot this podcast as well. Got a nice festival to go to. I'm gonna steal the tuxedo t-shirt out of my brother's closet and potentially could be just doing what Bullfrog was doing at a whole entire rock music festival, and I would not be. I would not be disappointed in myself. So thank you for the idea, Bullfrog, and again, Cody, thank you for that story. All right, Chris, it's your turn.
Okay. I'm the vocalist of the band The Difference Between. My name is Chris Roberts, and honestly, we're, like Cody said, we're so new. We haven't had a lot of time together in the same room because Cody lives about 12 hours away. So, we have a really good time, but we haven't had a lot of time together yet. It's mostly just been writing, strictly writing. And I haven't toured since about 2007. So it's been a really long time. A lot of those memories kind of escape my mind right now. Touring with the Devil Wears Prada, which at the time they were super, I don't know if they've changed or not, but they were, the Christian metalcore, I don't want to say forefront, but they were on that forefront. And playing at a satanic bookstore in Phoenix was pretty interesting.
Really?
Yeah, that was like seeing everyone's reaction, because it didn't really bother me at all, but I mean, a huge pentagram on the sign and the Baphomet and all this crazy shit all over the walls. Ended up being a great show, but it was really like, oh my God, what's going to happen?
No, understandable, especially because at that time, I think it was like when it came to like Christian metalcore, you had like at the forefront of that was Devil Wears Prada. You had Under Oath as well. I think August Burns Red was just jumping into the prominence at that time as well. So it definitely is kind of odd, seeing them and hearing that you guys toured and performed at a satanic bookstore in Arizona.
Yeah, everyone was really cool. Like, I mean, the Prada guys did their thing, and they always do their spiel right before their set. No one booed or anything like that. Everyone was really open-minded, so that was kind of cool. Didn't expect that.
I mean, it seems like just with the way that the world has worked, it seems like something you wouldn't expect. However, when it comes to music, especially anything within the rock and metal sphere and anything with the subgenres that branch off of them, it's when you get people all together. It's people come from so many different places, so many different backgrounds, so many different ideals, where you can be at a show and you can be saying next to someone who's the absolute opposite of you in terms of religious views, political affiliations, societal views, economic views, whatever it might be. But whoever's saying next to you, it's the fact that you connect with that same band that's going on stage. nothing else really matters at that point, except you guys are going to enjoy having a good time watching that band play live.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm happy to say that live shows are back. Woo!
Yeah.
Good one yet.
And it's going to be fun. Not only that, but I mean, with everything that happened in 2020 as well, of course, touring was basically shut down across the whole entire world, and it's just getting back going once again. Everyone's kind of stuck in their house. And then you guys formed this band in 2020 during that quarantine time. So what was it like forming this band? What was the whole entire inspiration behind it? And then not only that, but because I know Cody, you and Chris Wethington formed this band, what was like getting Chris, the one that's on the podcast right now, Chris Roberts, into the band?
All right, this might be a little heavy-winded one, but I'll take this one. Chris Wethington and I have been really, really good friends since our bands toured together in 2017. We've been doing we've had other projects and just some like music business endeavors together, and then I just kind of we kind of had frustrations with like trying to write with like new people and stuff, and I just kind of sent him this whole template I wrote on drums one day, and I was just like, hey, just see what you can do with this. And then within like a day and a half, he sent me a completed song over top of the drums that I wrote for it, which it's kind of backwards actually for writing. You normally don't write drums first, and structure a whole song based on drums. You normally build it off a guitar part or something, but so it was interesting, because I could have sent that same thing to any number of guitar players and got a whole bunch of entirely different songs, but so it was cool that Chris was able to play like that and write like that. And then I really loved the stuff that he came out with. And then we just kind of kept doing it for fun for a while. We wrote 3 more songs, and just the vibes were going really well. The creativity, it was just super fun. It was kind of just to get rid of some angst that we had during the quarantine of just not really being able to get all of our creativity out there how we wanted to. I live in an apartment, so it's really hard for me to play drums. So it's nice. I love writing drums on MIDI and my computer. So get those creative ideas out. But anyway, we started getting a couple ideas together, and we had about 3 to 4 songs. And then we were like, let's just do this. Our bands kind of weren't really touring a lot. Mystic Auras was basically done at that time. And the release cycle was going out for it. So I didn't really have a lot going on with that. So it was really fun to get this together. And then we started trying to get vocalists, and we had a bunch of ideas for it. And we actually had a tryout for it. But then the guy we really wanted was Chris Roberts here. Him and the other Chris go way back, just from the Lexington, Kentucky music scene. I'm sure Chris can add a lot to this as well then, but they go way back, and it just kind of worked out great. Chris did a demo for the song. It sounded fucking awesome. And it just kept going then. Then I just drove up, we recorded the songs I sent you back in March. I had to drive to Kentucky to record them, which is an 11-hour drive. So that's pretty awful. Lots of me in my car just going driving straight in the mountains for a while. But so I got down there, literally got there for a day, tracked the songs, then left. So it kind of sucked. I didn't get to see them too much. And then last week, actually, I just was down there for a whole week with them recording a full album. And it was just great to hang out with everybody. But kind of an interesting way to form a band. I've never written music this way, and I don't know, it's flowing really well, and the creativity with it's really cool. It's just music we all want to listen to. We're not really trying to be anything,
But if everything seems like it's flowing very well with the creativity process, and with the fact that you kind of, especially with that first song, you basically built it from the drums first, instead of from a guitar riff or just a solo, or kind of just based off of this certain chord progression that the guitar was going for, you really kind of brought a new kind of writing style to your repertoire as well, in terms of writing for the difference between writing the couple of songs that you sent me, the 2 that are out, they're going to be out by the time this podcast comes out, with both Envenom and Detach, along with what you guys have coming on the debut LP for the difference between going forward. It's going to be interesting to see what you guys come up with, especially with kind of how the writing process started in a much different way than what would be expected.
Oh, for sure. I love it, honestly. I just major props to Chris Wethington about just writing guitar that way. I think it's really cool. I love it as a drummer. It's I don't know, it's really challenging for me just to try to put a whole song together on drums and think in my head, I wonder what Chris would play here, and then I send him that, and he'll send me a draft, and I'll tweak the drums a little bit and maybe move some parts around and send it back. Just wild what you can do with the computer anymore. I don't know, write full songs with somebody in real time. That's 1,000 miles away from me.
Yeah, it's like if you think like if the like I remember I was talking with Matt from Blacktop Mojo the other day, and we were talking about what the whole entire thing with the pandemic when it came to working on music, creating it, writing it, and being able to just work with different people, not only that might be like real close to you in terms of just proximity during the pandemic, but further away with a computer and with the way that computing power was in 2020. It would have been a lot harder had we had to do this running off of Windows 95.
Oh my God, yeah, it'd be impossible.
It would potentially be harder than landing a man on the moon.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I can't imagine writing like music like 20 years ago and then looking at it now and just being like, wow, imagine what I could have done back then, you know. But that's also why we have such an oversaturation of music, though, is because it's literally so easy to write just on a computer. And but
yeah, but I'd rather have an oversaturation of it than have an undersaturation of it, because
100%.
with an oversaturation of it, it's there's so much more out there and you have to stand out above the rest, but you're getting a chance to see so many other bands that you would never have known about. Because I'm thinking about it, like I'll go even back 10 years ago from this time. And of course, there were certain bands I listened to and I really knew, but trying to discover more bands was not as easy as it is today, as it was in 2020, when all of a sudden I was finding out all these different bands I had no clue of and got to start listening to and get to know, and including jumping into this year as well. Hell, that's how I found out about you guys, with you guys reaching out to me, being able to check it out. If I hadn't had like, you know, a strong email presence and being able to like actually look at this stuff in real time, 10 years ago, this would have been, you know, something I probably might not have ever seen. And that would have been unfortunate, because listening to those two songs, all I got to say is, damn.
Thanks, dude. But I really appreciate that. It's just really wild what you can do with music anymore, man. Like just how, like I used to just find bands just from going to like FYE listening stations and stuff, you know? So whatever like band that was able to get their music in stores would get known. So it often makes me wonder like how many bands just like were incredible that just slipped through the cracks. They didn't have like a way to get their music out back then. But
yeah, because think about it, like back in like 2000, I'll go back, like, let's go back 15 years, like 2005, or go back to 2000, 2001, whenever I've been. I mean, going to music stores, radio, that was pretty much like your best guess. I mean, there were MP3 as well, like iTunes, but the problem was there was no like active, just like, you know, explore, search kind of thing. It's like if you're going to search, you had to search for exactly what you knew. And the other big one was like video game soundtracks, because we all remember Guitar Hero. Hell, Good Charlotte got their big start because they were featured heavily on Madden 2000 or Madden 2001. Hell, 3 Days Grace being featured on NASCAR Thunder 2004 is the reason I got into 3 Days Grace, because I Hate Everything About You is the song they play every time you open that up. And then in SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, there were 4 songs with a 1X on there. So it just kept driving like that. But the thing is you go to today, it's so much easier with different like Spotify playlists, different curated playlists, social media interaction. However, it is harder because there is just so much more out there. But then again, like I said, I'd rather have much more out there to be able to potentially discover so many great bands instead of having less opportunity. And now it's like, unless if you're getting heavily supported or it's like you just really hit at the right time, it might be very hard for you to really break out.
100%. You just have to find your niche and go with it. But yeah, man, I love looking forward every Friday to seeing like on Spotify, like what albums came out. Like Spotify's crazy. It's just like Christmas every Friday to see what kind of crazy stuff came out that week, you know?
Yeah, I'm like every single Friday, like I already like know in my mind. It's just like, okay, this is what's coming out this Friday. How my friends, they're not even using Spotify anymore. They're just asking me, okay, what's coming out this Friday? Because I'm always on top of like, oh, it's this. All of a sudden it's like, oh, what is this band announcing anything new? I'm like, yeah, they're announcing something new on this day. It's like, well, what is it? Well, it's probably going to be their new album. So here you go. It's kind of fun. But going back into the band now, I got to go to Chris on this one. Chris, because I know you toured a lot earlier, you know, like you said, like you hadn't toured like since 2007. What was it like with these guys reaching out to you, potentially getting into this band, and then joining the difference between and bringing your vocal set to the whole entire project?
Chris tried a few times and I just wasn't interested in music at that point. I'd been out for so long that it just wasn't interesting to me at all. But I don't know why, but I started buying recording equipment and kind of recording on my own. I wanted to actually learn how to sing a little bit. I want to learn how to play guitar, and that was the best way to do it. And I just so happened to have the equipment when Chris started sending me their demos. And I didn't know that they were writing like that. You know, to me, it sounded like they actually wrote the songs the way most bands do with guitar parts first. Um, yeah. And it was just the mood I wanted musically. Really didn't have to take much convincing after that. But before I was kind of apprehensive.
I mean, understandable. You've been out for a certain amount of time, and especially as time goes on in life, priorities change, mindsets change, so you never know exactly what happens. But the fact that you had all that equipment as well when those demos got sent to you, and you really connect with the sound and were able to give it a shot, and now, I mean, after what, 13, 14 years, you're pretty much going to be back into the fold, and you guys are going to release a debut LP sometime soon, and then potentially even go out on the road as well, tour with this, to a point where all of a sudden people are going to be, potentially lining up outside the doors at these clubs and being like, hey, can we get in and listen to this band? But you don't have a ticket. Yeah, but can we still get in somehow? Here's $15, sir. Please let me in.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's surreal for me.
I mean, it absolutely has to be, just because especially you, Chris, like from where you were, like just recording music, playing music, performing for such a good period of time, and all of a sudden having this long period of time off and then jumping back into it. And jumping back into it now honestly seems like not the worst, actually a really good idea, just because everyone else had to have like a year off from touring because of the COVID pandemic. So not only are you jumping back into this after like a longer period of time, every band is jumping back into touring after a certain period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's a good timing. Everything's just seemed to be timed right for us right now. A lot of bands too, but like, so we're so new, it just seems like everything's perfect instead of struggling like some of the bands I've been in where it was just hurdle and everything happening, like the internet. I don't even know how we used to prepare to go to the studio 10, 12, 15 years ago. We would record on a laptop, but through just the speakers. It's like the actual microphone on the laptop. So it was terrible. You couldn't hear hardly anything, but that's how I used to have to write. But now it's so easy. Super, super blessed to have the technology that we have.
And it's just embracing the technology that we have as well. And as times change, of course, you go 15 years in the future from now, the technology we're using is going to be incredibly obsolete. Like when I made the Windows 95 joke, I mean, if something like this were to happen, 15 years from now, with the whole, like another pandemic or something like that, or like just hopefully it's never going to happen again in our lifetime. But like say there's like another like quick little mini shutdown and bands have to take 2-3 months off, potentially are going to write something during that. You never know what kind of equipment where they're going to end up using, what you guys are going to end up using, even recording 15 years down the line. But it's, again, being able to take advantage of the situation that you had with the equipment that you had in order to be able to record in a time where you kind of have to be separated. And then by the time you get able to come together and record, you guys all have a certain level of efficiency and a certain level of quality already to those demos. So you have a better idea of what to do instead of, like you said, Chris, recording into a laptop microphone and then having to play it back on the speakers. And it's sounding, not going to lie, using those laptop speakers for anything or those microphones for anything, very, very, very rough and scratchy.
Yeah. You don't get a good sound.
Not at all. But of course, now that you guys are together and you guys have, at this point by the time the podcast came out, likely have released 2 songs, Envenom being the first one. I remember watching the YouTube video. It had the July 2nd date on it, and Detach being the second one coming out on July 30th. I got to ask you guys this question. Which one you want to talk about first? Because I dove deep into both these songs, and I am more than happy to talk about both.
I think Detach is definitely going to be more of like the single. Like Envenom was kind of just like a really moody, just like I don't know, just like a glimpse of kind of like foreshadowing what we're going to do. All of our songs sound pretty different. They all kind of encapsulate that like old school, like post-hardcore sound, but like with the new age, like post-hardcore production and stuff with it, which is kind of what we're trying to do. Like really inspired by bands like Lower Definition, Thursday, Oceana. I was trying to bring back that old school kind of thing. Poison the Well is a big one for me. But Detach, I think just really, it just comes out right away with like it comes right in with the drums, just like right in with a false chorus, has pretty big breakdown in the middle. I think the chorus is structured really well. But what I really like about like when Detach, we're going to be releasing our songs in like volumes almost. Like, so it'll be like a single, then the next song that comes out after that will be like an interlude, then another single. So like Detach and Envenom is the first EP, the first volume, the difference between two different kinds of conflicts, you know? So each song kind of has its own conflict that's like being portrayed throughout the whole EP. And then the interlude ties them all together really well. So it kind of creates a really nice kind of aesthetic to everything, a vibe for each one of the volumes. And like the artwork goes with that pretty well. So like then we're going to have 3 more songs coming out. Pretty much going to release a song every month for a while and then like put them all together with volumes to make a full LP that has like, they all relate to, you know, I think it's going to be pretty cool and unique and add some more depth than bands just putting out like singles every time, you know, just like kind of throwing singles out all the time. But so yeah, I don't know. I think they both kind of go together really well. Like when you hear them with the interlude in between them, they like flow together really well. But yeah, I think Detach is definitely the stronger song. I'm really stoked to see when it comes out and how people like it. But I think Envenom was a great starter for people to check out our band. A nice debut song.
I think with Envenom, it really did a good job to really bring that out, specifically kind of give that overall introduction to the band at some point as well, because, I mean, I'm just taking a look through my notes right now, because I'll put it this way, there's a lot of notes on this song. Whenever I look at a song in deep, there's usually about like a page to a page and a half. And even taking a look at like Envenom to start out with, because you go to that intro, because it starts with that slightly heavier guitar distorted with the volume in a way to give off more of this somewhat painful vibe. And you take a look at the song overall, especially in the me when you go through the whole entire thing with Envenom, I'm like, just that little part in there, it's this painful little riff starts off the song in 2 seconds, but it sets up the tone overall right away, straightforward. So I'm just like, holy shit, here we freaking go. Because you're already getting that absolute feel just right off the beginning. And then, of course, you go into the verse on this song and, like, you get more of this melodic metalcore drumming style from yourself, Cody. But the guitars are playing this heavier, more melodic style that older post-hardcore soundings would really have. And, like, but the key is to achieve the emotion of the song by maintaining that painful distortion from the intro and doing so with a little more of a louder prominence on the volume. So you're feeling this pain certainly becoming stronger. So you're kind of getting this feel of, like, you know, this, you're getting a little bit of that, like, mostly post-hardcore mix, a little bit of metalcore technically in the back, but it feels like it's more melodic to really fit in there nicely. But just as an introduction point, the thing that really took me by surprise was, as an introduction point, you're really showing that you guys are able to create songs just from an instrumental standpoint to really bring out every single emotion you want in that song and just have everyone really be able to guide through those emotions that they're listening to as they go forward.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I appreciate your deep dive into it.
Oh, I can keep going if you want me to, and then I can go into Chris's vocals afterwards and have some fun with it. No, don't worry, like, because, and I'll go to the pre-chorus as well, because the drums, they got louder and they got more of like a fill bass and like a metalcore sense. The guitars keep up the same sound in a way that gives off more of the painful feel of the song. And I really like the way this worked as well, because you're creating more of this urgency behind that heaviness of the song, the entire message of some sort of manipulation. It provides a heavier feel of the song. Then it lets the transition to the chorus work much better with more of that intro style guitar. Now we get to the chorus. We go back to that more melodic post-hardcore style from the guitars. The drums go more melodic as well once again. And it really fits alongside those post-hardcore guitars because it's all about the pace at this point. And when you get to the chorus with the instrumentals, it's all about the pace. And it really lets the pain shine bright through the instrumentals. I love the move that is done here because it provides a lot of power to the song with more of a melancholic feel as you realize what has happened and have no will to change it because you feel like you can't change whatever manipulated you. So you kind of get this whole entire just like blowback feel by it just from the instrumentals. But it's just the way that it's melodically broken down in that chorus really makes that emotion just stand out right forward from you.
Hell yeah, man. Love it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And that's just one part of that song because of course that's the instrumentals right there. Now I got to go to the vocals and I wonder what Chris is going to have to say about this because we'll see what happens. I might be setting up just it like in a bait and switch kind of thing, being like, oh, this doesn't seem like Kevin's going to like it, but let me tell you. When you listen in Envenom, you get to the verses, and Chris, you play with more of this full feel clean style vocal that really fills out more of the song. But there were those unclean vocals that were layered underneath your vocals, and I am not going to lie. This is what I wrote. Holy crap, does this work well? It's because those unclean vocals seem like, like there's some sort of manipulation coming for you, but they're so much they're layered under the cleaner vocals so much more. And because they haven't fully wrapped themselves around you, and the melodic style of the vocals adds to the sinking and feeling of that manipulation. And it's the way that the mix was where your clean vocals were much more, prominent above those unclean vocals that really gave this whole entire just more full feel to the song, but those unclean vocals just provide a lot more power to let your clean vocals really shine through. But none of that, those unclean vocals that were behind it also gave this other deeper feel to the song, like something else was going to come for you. So there was a little bit of a creepiness vibe to it, but it really fit in so well with the theme that when you listen to it, you really start to feel like there's something coming for you, even like that's right under your clean vocals. It was something that I really was a big fan of.
Dude, thank you. Seriously, you described everything that I kind of wanted to come up, have come out in that song, because that was the first song that I tracked vocals for, the first song I wrote vocals for them. So that was a learning process. So a lot of that was an accident. A lot of it was me not remembering what to do behind a microphone, especially in that kind of style. So I was relearning how to scream, relearning how to like sing and project and have, different moods for it. I'm really happy that it turned out the way it did, especially you liking the heavy vocals behind it. I just wanted to scream to have that be an atmosphere and not just a scream for screaming's sake, because I've done it a million times. And I just wanted it to be one instrument, just using it as a noise in the background. But it's like you can feel how, I guess, upset I was when I wrote those lyrics, or, where I was when I wrote those lyrics. I want you to be able to feel that. That's the goal.
And when it comes down to when you're putting your whole self into a song like that, when you're putting your whole self in the lyrics and putting your whole self into the whole entire vocal pattern behind it, and you're really driving the emotion from something more personal, it's going to come out in the vocals. It's going to come out in the song. It's come out in the layering of this. And we're really going to be able to feel the genuineness of it if you're really being forthright and really being upfront with it, which clearly you were. And the instrumentals from the backing really helped express that as well, especially with them being more of a melodic build. So, I thought it worked out perfectly with going with that. And because I was wondering, I'm like, if you're doing the cleans, who's doing the uncleans in the back? But if you layered them both on yourself, now it makes a lot more sense, because especially with the way the song is built, giving those unclean vocals kind of like, it's kind of like your inner voice in a way that's kind of ready to kind of like manipulate and wrap around you. So I love the idea behind it as well, because then you go to the pre-chorus and you get the melodic heavy uncleans over the melodic cleans at the same time as well. So now it's like the mix is reversed. And I was like, with the heavier backing at this point, we feel like the manipulation tactics are really being able to take hold of you here. And we really get to feel the pain that is going to be felt here. It's heavy, but it's well done to really give that contrast from what the verses were showing as well, where it's kind of like the progression of manipulation coming after you.
I'm speechless. That's crazy, man. Just to have someone go through I'm used to people not reading the lyrics. I'm used to people just sing. You see people at shows sing along, they don't know the words. So like you really never know how much someone's paying attention to what you're saying. So I appreciate you, reading that deeply into it, because we really actually thought about these songs. So thank you.
Well, usually what I do with these is like whenever I try and dive deep into a song is I always start out by trying to really take a listen to the song first and really figure out where the lyrics are going with this and what they're trying to express. But I'll also listen to the song at the same point as well, because you can always get a little bit more of an emotion behind it as well, where you're trying to figure that out. And then after I figure out what the meaning I think is, not only to the song, but then also, because I always end up relating to myself at some point to add a little more context to it. Then I go through the instrumentals, then I go through the vocals after that, and I figure out how they really piece it together. Like when I talk with, I'm going to talk about with Cody in this band, Ascent Like Wolves, when I talked with Nick about the song Telephone, that one just took me and just hit me personally, but it was how I read through it and how I went through it. Hell, I still listen to that song and it still hits me hard. It hurts, but it hurts really good. I'm not going to lie. But it's just like with this one, with Envenom, it was the same kind of thing where you can really feel the emotion behind it. Because even you go to the chorus, because the melodic cleans really come back in full force with some uncleans really drop back in the layering of the song. And I'm like, This works out really well because you feel like you're getting that realization point of the message of the song that you need to make some sort of change. But the unclean vocals represent the manipulation embedded inside you, and there's really nothing you can do to stop now because it's so stuck in you. They go that deep, and the kind of like electric guitar distortion that's also in that point as well really helps add to the vocal tone right here. So it really amplifies the vocal tone in more of a kind of like, especially the clean one's more of a comparison style. So you're finally feel like you get to that realization point of what's going on, but that manipulation, whatever the outside force is already embedded in you. And you can feel that in the vocals, especially with those uncleans being dropped back once again.
Nailed it again. Man. It's like he read the lyrics.
I did read the lyrics.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope you don't think I'm, unhinged or anything. Just trying to be honest out there.
No, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't think you're unhinged. The reason for that is because I've gone through so many different songs over the past 3 years doing this. I've gone through so much music, but the music I connect with the most when people show their true self, show their openness and really go and dive deep into it, because then we're really able to connect with it so much closer, so much better. We're able to use those songs to potentially realize certain things about ourselves and our lives and go forward and really understand what the hell is going on. I mean, I'll throw it back to even with Cody with the Sound Like Wolves and that band that he's also working with there with that song Telephone. I still listen to that because it's just the way that it's layered and the way that the chorus hits. It's just absolutely nuts with how that really impacts you when you listen to the lyrics and you really understand what it comes to you. I've in 2020 listening to certain songs one of the biggest songs, Above My Head by the band Polaris. That basically I went through the lyrics on that one. I listened to it in the car once and I'm like, I kind of wanted to try and just go back to it. What did I just listen to? I went back to it again and I really started paying attention to the lyrics, and it described the depression I went through in 2017 to perfection. And with the way the tone was, I'm like, holy crap, how the hell is this song doing this? So I love when bands just open up like that, because then we get to relate to other things that are going on within ourselves and give ourselves this more known prospect behind it and give ourselves paid to basically kind of a feeling that we're not the only ones that go through something like that. It really hits home. And especially with Envenom, I want to go to Detach real soon because I want to make sure we get to that one. But with Envenom, I got to go to the bridge as well, because you had the uncleans and cleans doing this more call and response kind of style. But the uncleans had much more power behind them. And now it's like the manipulation takeover in your mind is complete. And this all hits you with more power, all based on that guitar tone. And honestly, it puts all the pieces together on this song where I'm like, holy crap, Envenom is the perfect name for this song. The theme and how it is brought forward through the vocals, through the more melodic instrumentals, and through the way the pre-chorus really takes a little bit more of a charge behind there to kind of give a more differentiation between the verse and the chorus, really sets it out there. So for this to be the opening song to try and introduce your band to the world, holy shit, you guys did it.
Man, you're blowing my confidence and ego up, man. I love it.
Right?
And you get a little air pump here that says your ego and just start inflating it.
I'll explode, man. Can't. No, but I really appreciate that, man. We were kind of worried because I don't know. We just we never, with writing this band, we didn't really put a lot of effort into what. We're not going for we want to sound exactly like this band or something, or I just want to be a metal. We shouldn't do this because it won't sound like the genre we're going for. We just wrote music to have fun with it, I wrote drum parts that I'd want to play all the time. So that's how Chris was soft spoken. Chris Wethington, his basically he just tried to do everything that wasn't soft spoken. It was just really I was trying to write drum parts where I'm what would a Scent Like Wolves not do here, just to try to be fun with it and keep me going, but. Yeah, man, hearing all this is great. It's just refreshing that what we're putting out is cool. It's an old style,
It definitely did have an older post-hardcore style to it, but it did have a little bit of a newer taste to it. And especially when it came to Envenom, it was not only the layering of the clean, unclean vocals, but it was just the way that little bit more of a metalcore style drumming was brought into the pre-chorus as well to kind of give it a little bit more of a more modern flavor in a way, given the fact that it's right now it seems like there's kind of a resurgence in metalcore in a way, because there's so many other bands that are coming out right now. So it kind of gives this older kind of post-hardcore sound that you guys were looking at a little bit more of this modern touch to it. So it doesn't sound this sounds like Thrice again. No, you're not going for something like that. You're going for something a little bit more of exactly what you want to do, which is whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah.
You're going for nostalgic but fresh.
And everyone loves some nostalgia, but nostalgia only lasts so long, and all of a sudden you bring in some fresh. It's like, ooh, this is old and new at the same time. Oh, fucking right.
Hell yeah. But I don't know, man, like music goes in like cycles, it's just like fashion or like anything, I guess. I'm hoping that there could be like a new post-hardcore resurgence just because that's what I love. So I'm hoping.
There very well could be. I've been having a good amount of post-hardcore bands on this podcast recently, listening to some of the stuff they're coming out with. I'm just looking like there could definitely be a little bit of a resurgence here.
Hopefully. But hell yeah, man.
But now there's another song I'd love to talk to you guys about, especially after going as deep as we did with Envenom, and that is Detach. So I'm gonna ask this question especially because I want to see where the similarities are, where the difference is. And of course, when I said I go through these songs, the first thing I try and find out is the meaning. Now, I couldn't look at the lyrics of this one because there's no lyrics out at the time when I was finding this, but I did listen to this thing probably like 5 or 6 times really trying to understand it. So I gotta ask, when you guys were writing this song, when you came up with the whole entire idea for it, what was going to be the meaning behind this song? And I want to see how close I either got to it or where kind of we strayed off. But then again, it all depends upon how we take songs and how our mindsets work and how the life experience that we had influences us.
Cool. You want to take that one, Chris?
Yeah. All right. So like Cody said, they're kind of a common theme within the two songs as a volume with the interlude. So Detach is kind of the acceptance version of that story, or not version, but it's the acceptance part of that after the anger, all the self-destructive things that you do when you're angry and drunk and depressed, and you're just making all the wrong decisions. And then you kind of gotta wake up and sober up and realize like what you did. And then that's when it really gets bad for me, I guess, seeing the aftermath of what I did and the bridges I burned and relationships I destroyed because of the dumb shit I was doing when I was drunk and lashing out and not communicating with people. I didn't have any outlets, nothing like that. So I mean, it's really just the acceptance of like, this is bad. You need to do something. And it's still kind of following the theme of depending on, substances like alcohol and stuff like that to kind of numb it. I guess you don't think as much, but I mean, again, it's a crutch. So it's going to come with more consequences, even if you're trying to manage it, even if you're not going out and getting butt housed and breaking things, sitting at home depressed drinking, it's not good either.
Yeah, because if you're sitting at home depressed drinking, I've been through that before as well. It's like you're not going out and physically destroying stuff, but it's like you're destroying your own inner self at some point as well, because you're kind of destroying your body by drinking so much and not really doing anything outside of that. You're kind of destroying some relationships around because you're being so shut off and so closed off from everything else. I can easily see where that comes. Where I took the song was a similar route, but I was a little bit more specific with what you were talking about, because you're talking about like, different things you've done, realize the consequence, like different like bridges you burned. I went with more of the kind of the relationships that you've lost. And I took a little bit of a deeper kind of style with that, because I'm like, I feel like it's removing the feelings that you had when someone removing the feelings you have for someone that no longer feels for you anymore. Similar, like, if you're in a relationship or something, all of a sudden you end up breaking up with the person that you're with, and one person really wants to just still make it work, and the other person kind of is standoffish. And all of a sudden then after a certain while, the roles completely flip, where the other person moved on and you haven't yet. And you have to deal with the loss, and where this song shows the struggle to detach from those emotions in order to move forward in life. Again, the reason why I went down that road a little bit more is because that's a little bit more personal to what I had to deal with back in 2017. So again, it's all dependent upon how you take a look at what you've done personally in life and relate to these songs. However, where we all come together is the fact that there is a core message behind there, which is detaching from potentially, negative emotions, negative feelings, negative attributes, negative actions, and removing them from yourself. So there is a similarity there, but it all depends upon where our specifics go to get to that same core emotion at the base of the song.
And detaching from people that actually should matter to you. I mean, there's a negative side to it. too. I mean, detaching from like family or, because you can't even talk to them about it really. I can't, so you kind of shut yourself off, like you said. And, and you can even detach yourself like from just being social with people. Like you just kind of walk around with just blinders on. You don't really socialize with anybody either. So you're almost detached from society at that point, and really starts to, really just starts to mess things up.
Yeah, so even you could go out at some point as well and try and connect with people, be social, but it seems like you're on autopilot at that point. Just your body's there, but your mind is not. And
Right.
it really, then all of a sudden, it's like people kind of just, if you're not doing that and you're with like, your friends, some of your friends are going to stop inviting you out just because it's okay, he's coming out with us, but he's just not there. Just like emotionally and like mentally, he is just not present to be in that social situation at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. It took a lot of things to get me out of that, but mixed martial arts, best thing for depression. Definitely, I recommend it.
Well, I'm going to add to that mixed martial arts and music because music was the thing for me.
Absolutely, it's what's safer.
Absolutely. But, I know friends that do mixed martial arts as well, and they absolutely love it. So I'm all for it because there is a certain like emotional and mental release that you get when all of a sudden, and even a little bit of a physical one as well, when all of a sudden you're, basically you have that physical contact, it might be kicking, punching, or for me, jump into a mosh pit and going absolutely ape shit. There's some sort of like mental clarity that just happens in those moments that just really, 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 really helps. So for the past like year, almost year and a half ish, I've been missing out on that. Not anymore. Yeah.
Back into it.
I'm now jumping into Detach as well because now it's time for me to break this one down for you all and with these guys here as well. And of course, start out with the instrumentals because the intro to this one was a lot different from Envision because you got this quick drum fill, but the consistent hits on the toms, a little bit of a heavier sound stem, really give off some of that deeper feeling of the song. And I even put, oh boy, here we go again. You're going to feel the emotions of this one. We are starting out with this in a much heavier sense. But then we were brought into something much heavier with more of a drum fill sound, a lighter guitar to really take us in the verse. So we're getting a heavier, but a little bit more of this like differentiation style than we got in the previous one. So I'm like, okay, this is a little bit different. Let's see where this goes. We get into the verses and the guitar, they play a lot more of this melodic, lighter, and laid back style, while the drums take more of this forefront as they play with more of this style based in fill. So you're kind of getting a little more of a dynamic style from the drums here. And I really like this move because of the more melodic style of the guitars and on the vocals, which we'll get to in a bit, the drums keep up this faster pace that really stands out for more of the positive side of life. But then you get to the second verse, we get the whole second half of that second verse with the filling drums, heavier guitars that match up with the drumming pace a lot more. And again, I find this to be a rather cool piece because it prevents the song from being oversaturated with softer guitars and more fill-based drums. It's not going to feel like a run-on sentence at this point. We're getting a little bit more of this differentiation, a little bit more of this diversity within the song right here as well, especially going into the verses. So I'm like, we're seeing a little bit more of this dynamic from the drums, but then all of a sudden we kind of get into the second verse, like, okay, we're getting a little bit more of a build-up, and then we hit that second half, and it's a lot more heavy, a little bit heavier, especially from the guitars. The drumming really fits in with the pace of the guitar as well, so we're really getting more of this full feel right behind it, and it doesn't feel like the song is going to be oversaturated with a sameness. There's definitely a more dynamic part to it right here.
Hell yeah. Nailed it.
Nailed it once again, man. I'm on a roll. Just I need to get I'm gonna be like Limp Bizkit right now. I'm just gonna keep rolling.
Talk about that Limp Bizkit Spirit Box tour, man. What?
Oh, hell yeah!
Yeah, what a tour package.
That is one of the most insane tour packs I think I've ever seen.
I was like, is this a joke? But I'm so stoked. I'm gonna go.
I'm thinking about going when they're playing in Chicago, but I'm like, I'm not necessarily sure because I will be seeing Limp Bizkit at Rockfest in Wisconsin. And then Spirit Box is playing at Blue Ridge, and I'm going out there for all 4 days. My friend's like, okay, there are certain bands that he does not want to miss, and Spirit Box is one of them. And I'm like, I only put 2 bands on my I'm not missing them list whatsoever. And yeah, I don't think Spirit Box playing on any of those days, so it's very possible.
Well, hopefully it's see him. I can't wait to see him, but we'll keep rolling though, yeah. Limp Bizkit.
Yeah. We'll just keep rolling like Limp Bizkit. Alrighty, so keep rolling again. What? So here we go, and we're going to go into the chorus because the drums stay with more of that fill style and the guitars pick up a little bit more of the roughness, but the drums still stay more prevalent in the chorus as well. And I like the drums once again. They're providing that feeling of this change needing to be made on the song, but the song is also reminding me of more melodic post-hardcore style of a band Throw the Fight. I'm not going to lie, I find that to be incredibly cool right here because I actually really like Throw the Fight as well. I'm like, this is kind of like a post-hardcore melodic style of this. Fuck yeah, man.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
So I'm going to keep, I mean, I can just keep going and going and going. Yeah, again, I feel like the Energizer Bunny on this, just keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
So then we even get to the bridge of the song. The drums get even more fill bass on the snare, but then we are led into something much heavier, like a more melodic metalcore and post-hardcore song given together with the heavier guitars, and it again adds to the heaviness of the song, and it really needs to be here like we have with that second verse to prevent the song potentially getting stale as it drives on further. It's giving more diversity to the song. It's giving more of this powerful feel to the song right here. So I'm like, I am all for this every step of the way. You can't tell me I'm not for this. This is just the way to go. Even the outro sees this more consistent drum line with the melodic letter guitars really leading us through the outro. And I'm like, this is a little bit of a welcome change because we're seeing this detachment feel overall because now we had this more dynamic drumming throughout the whole entire song until the outro where it flips kind of back to what you'd expect, kind of having a little more of that drumming being the bass and guitars being a little more of the forefront style. So now we're seeing more of this detachment happening from the entire song as we're led to the outro. So it's kind of like that detachment of what you need to be detaching from is happening right at the end of the song. And now you're leading into more of this moment of mental clarity.
That you hit the nail on the head for how I wanted the drums and guitar to be. I wanted to slowly like kind of break down where it's like getting less and less complicated. The drums are just still driving anything, and it just ends on just the dun 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 dun. Just like rides it out like that. And I think it's like you said, it's just totally detached then. You know, it's like the drums detached completely from the rest of the music. But
yeah, and it's need to be that way to really make sure everything stands out. And then now it's time to talk to Chris over here about these vocals, and let's see what we do on this one, because we go to the intro of the song, and there's a heavier unclean vocal over the lighter cleans, and the cleans really stay further in the background, very similar like what we had with the pre-chorus from Envenom. And I'm like, I totally get this move because we are using this to show the anger emotion of having to detach from someone or something and realizing that it has to be done. So it's just like the anger is really being brought out here, but you're seeing that clean vocal in the back kind of be that little bit of moment of clarity at the same point as well. So we're seeing a little bit more of the reverse than what we saw from the core of Envenom. But again, it works out to really just set the tone of the song from here.
Thank you. That's definitely my favorite song so far. So yeah, I like hearing good things about that. That's nice.
And I can just keep going because we got in the verses, you go with this lighter clean style with this lighter higher pitch and playing the more melodic style that the guitars are creating. But the payoff is so well with the underlying filling drums to make this really stand out with the realization of what has happened and that you have to remove those feelings and those emotions in order to really move forward. So you have that detachment moment. But in the second half of the second verse, when the instrumentals pick up and the vocals go unclean, again, it's needed to prevent the song from not only going stale, but showing that anger once again to the emotions being felt. It's heavy, but it shows the struggle to let go of those feelings and let go of those emotions, let go of those potentially harmful things. So you're bringing back that anger once again, because when it comes to letting go of those things, it is not easy. It is tough. We've all gone through it, and it's like, oh, it's not good for you. Why don't you let go of it? Because it's not that easy. There's a certain like emotional investment that you've made in those, and they're so deeply rooted within you that it's hard to remove those. It's hard to detach from those. And that anger in those unclean vocals in the second half of the second verse absolutely show that.
You nailed it. I mean, we're gonna keep saying that because you're definitely good. You're great, man. Yeah, it's like you said, it's not overnight and it's not going to happen quick. And you're going to have weeks and months of just getting shit on. And I mean, just really how you react to it. That's everything. But in the storm, you don't always think of that. It's pretty much it. You nailed it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I can absolutely relate to that as well, because like I take a look end of June of 2017, all of a sudden everything was really just not going well for me. I'm like, okay, is this ever going to end? And all of a sudden, as the second half of 2017 rolled on, things just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And it was kind of like mentally I was creating that horribleness for myself. And it got to a point where all of a sudden on Thanksgiving 2017, even with my whole entire family at the house, I tried taking my own life twice. So it really got to me heavy. It got to me hard to the point where there was something that had to be done. There was some kind of change that had to be made. And if honestly, the change that needed to be made is the thing I am doing right now, which is working on music and talking to guys like you, talk about music as much as possible, and just really trying to get people into rock metal and all their subgenres as much as possible, and all the great bands that are coming out as well, because that's what I fell in love with. That's what I love to do. That's what I want to do. So I finally found something I want to do, found something that made me happy. I'm like, okay, I'm not letting go of this. I am driving forward on this. I'm not stopping.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Look at me.
It's awesome to see someone really care about what they do. I love that.
I mean, I get that, like, whenever I talk to any band on the podcast, you can always tell that all these bands, they really take so much pride in what they do. You guys take so much pride, so much emotional, investment in what you guys are doing. And especially when we get songs like what you guys are producing right now, with the difference between, it is the difference between good music and great music. I had to throw that in there just because I'm like, there's got to be sometime I can use the difference between at some point. I'm like, there it is. Because when you guys are putting so much into these songs and so much emotion into these songs and really understanding how to drive off of that, this is what's really coming to the forefront. Because even when we get to the chorus, Chris, you do this like call and response on yourself with the clean vocals and then even some higher cleans as well, with some heavy unclean vocals in the background and accenting everything. It really gives the song, again, this like throw the fight feel, but it shows the multiple emotions going through detachment from someone, something, whatever it might be. And if you're a fan of Throw the Fight at all, if you like anything they've ever done, even just one song, Detach, by the difference between, you're going to get into this, be the band just based off of this song. It is easily going to happen. Even going into the bridge, we get the heavy uncleans once again, and this does the same thing that the second half of verse number 2 does. You change the song to prevent it from getting stale once again, but bringing that heaviness, to bringing that anger emotion once again, is absolutely done the right way. It is the way you need it to be on this song, and you absolutely hit it.
Hell yeah, man. It means a lot. Just it's weird writing drums or writing songs just by drums. Like you don't know how the structure is going to go. I'm always just like, well, hopefully Chris does this year, but it always seems to work out though. I don't know. We vibe really well. And, but yeah, it's just crazy. Like when you find your vice, like your vice to cope with stuff, like how that can change your life. Like, I mean, like going back to what you said before, like just like you finding your podcast, like me finding music, I had a lot of rough times. I gave up on music entirely at one point and like came back to it just by kind of similar to us hitting Chris up. Someone hit me up and I like completely gave up, was like a depressed piece of shit, like hated myself, and then like I just like I hated that I gave up on it, but it like felt good to give up on. I don't know, it was like a weird kind of dissonant thing. But then like all of a sudden I wrote back into it with A Scent Like Wolves, like literally changed my life completely for like the better, like a whole different path I went on. And like so much happier now. I have a lot more confidence in myself. Just like, it's just great when you finally find that thing that you're passionate about, just like actually just feels great to go with it, But like, I can tell you have such a passion for what you're doing here, just based upon these descriptions and reviews, man. I love it.
Well, thank you. And I absolutely agree. Because even like during that like 2017 period when everything was going wrong, though, like the one consistent thing I had was I was only listening to like Skillet, Older 30 Seconds of Mars, and the Wolves album by Rise Against, because even though Rise Against, I love the band, they're my favorite band, I was not listening to anything that they're like anything before 2017, because even though I'd listened to everything, from a lot of the emotions I had from the previous year and everything was going wrong, there was tied to a lot of that emotion, a lot of songs. I'm like, I'm just really depressed behind all this. It just wasn't good. I decided to try and find a way to take the band back for myself. So I went to go see a live show. The first one to go see a live show by myself. And once they went on stage, that hour and 15 minutes, right when the first note hit, I'd forgotten anything that was bad. I'd forgotten anything that was wrong. So I'm like, things kept getting worse down the line, but at least I had that to really hold on to. And it was trying to figure out something to find for myself what to do. And I got the idea I bought an Amazon Alexa, and I was like, okay, I like asked Alexa play Rise Against, and I got an idea for something. And I started talking to some people, figuring out what the idea was, and I started building on that to the point where the initial idea was just to do like a whole song of the day thing and just bring people new music to a point where all of a sudden that built into a YouTube channel, that built into this whole entire podcast, that built into everything else I'm doing, even these cover videos I'm doing of I take a recorder and put it over vocals of some song. Like I think my favorite one is the one I did with the final episode by Asking Alexandra, where I just go absolutely nuts, or the one I did of Given Up by Linkin Park, where I pass out through the screen because I could not hold the note that long. But it's just, I have so much fun doing this. Like I'm doing this for myself as well. There's purpose behind this, similar to what you did, Cody, when it comes to just getting back into music and kind of being brought back into it. It gave you this purpose, it gave you this confidence, it gave you what you want to do in life back, it gave you your happiness back. So it just is something where it could be anything you could think of it is. For us, the three of us here, it was music. It was some kind of music, but it could be anything else for anybody else listening to this. So if you're going through something that might be hard, might be going through depression, might be going through some of those suicidal tendencies, might be going through something very rough in life, listen to music, and listen to music that honestly opens up a lot of stuff. Rock and metal is perfect in a lot of the subgenres. A lot of stuff I've been hearing in post-hardcore lately has really hit on a lot of this, especially from more of this openness and more of this really raw and real standpoint. So it will help you not only make sense of your emotions, but also let you get in deeper with them and understand where to go from there, and kind of a guide to keep going forward.
For sure.
Dude, absolutely.
Oh shoot, did the video cut out on us right at the end of this? That is not what I wanted. Did I got you guys back?
Yeah, I nothing happened on my screen for you, but
Oh, my screen went out and I'm trying to do a bunch of stuff where my mobile hotspot turned off and the thing went off as well. So at least it wasn't that big of a drop. So, but again, everyone that's listening to this, it's just, honestly, if you're going through some stuff where it comes to you're struggling with certain things, most struggling potentially with depression, whatever it might be, listen to these songs from The Difference Between and really understand, really get in deep with them. Honestly, it is something where, and any kind of music as well that really talks, really genuine, really raw. Honestly, anything in rock and metal and the subgenres really hit home on this.
I mean, you'll find it, man. You just gotta try. You just gotta listen to music, and you'll find something that, metal, rock. You'll find that song.
Oh yeah, you'll always find it. It's just you kind of got to go out and look for it. However, with the way music is today, the streaming services, YouTube, just with people talking about it a lot, you can easily find something that you can really attach yourself to. And heck, honestly, if anyone's out there listening, if you need some suggestions, just comment on the podcast, comment on anything that we post about this podcast, comment on anything and ask for suggestions. I'm more than happy to help.
Sam, I will always rant about music to anybody.
No, absolutely. Just pretty much like what we did here. And I'm honestly so happy we did, because you guys, especially with, we started being able to release kind of this in a little bit of like that chapter kind of way. It's like, okay, this song's kind of like you have the song, your lead song, and really get into the whole entire vibe of it. Kind of similar to what, if people are kind of looking at this, a little bit similar like what Of Mice and Men has been doing in 2021 with 3 EPs that kind of comprise a whole album. It's kind of has a similar feel, but the idea is you're getting like multiple complete different mindsets, complete different stories, and complete different emotions that are being talked about. So really dive deep and really give yourself an understanding of what's going on within not only what the band is talking about, but also within yourself at the same point.
For sure. We really hope every volume kind of like when you put them all together, like really just encapsulates just like the whole like human condition, just the whole human experience, just different emotions you feel and places in your life that you go to and stuff. But I think with all three of them, then the final album, when it comes out, when they get put all together, it's going to be really cool. I think it'll have a lot of depth to it.
Well, I mean, I'm excited to hear that and excited when the whole entire LP comes out. So we're, again, for everyone listening, because by the time this comes out, I think both singles will be out. So I know Envenom is out right now. It came out on July 2nd, so go check that out. Detach comes out on July 30th. So if this podcast, if you're listening after July 30th, be sure to go and take a look at that song as well, along with the interlude that's going to be coming in between. And make sure you're keeping in touch with The Difference Between, mostly because, well, you just heard me run through these 2 songs, and they hit deep, but they are well crafted to the point where everything fits and everything hits on that emotion with a completely different writing style than what you'd expect, with the drums being written first. So it seems like this band has, that you guys have, this kind of different writing style, but it shows that you guys really work well with it, especially off of these two songs. I'm very curious to see what you guys have coming forward and none of that, but then with you guys being able to get together, potentially hit the road sometime soon, see what you guys do with this stuff live.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, we're really excited for it. We have a lot of plans coming up with all of it. We just got to get it all released and hit the road with it, but pretty stoked on everything.
I was like, I could ask you about future plans, but if nothing is concrete, then I'm pretty sure I'm not going to hear anything, and I don't want to hear anything if nothing's concrete.
Yeah, it's just a little too new, and just with like everything open, like where I'm from, just like completely opened up. So it's just kind of, I don't know, it's gonna be a little bit, but we have we got like booking agent already and stuff, and we're all ready to go at it hard. So
well, that makes total sense. So guys, as we bring this incredible podcast to a close, one thing I always like to do is give you guys a chance to say whatever you want to say, plug whatever you want to plug at this given moment to the fans. So you guys, Chris and Cody, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, yeah, again, my name's Cody Frain. I play drums for The Difference Between. I also play drums for the metalcore band Ascent Like Wolves. We have a song coming out on the 30th.
And it turned it off.
Did it?
Yeah, it just cut out real quickly. I got you guys back though.
You got me back? You just want to? I'll start over here.
Yeah,
All right.
Start over.
Yeah, my name is Cody Frain. I play drums for The Difference Between and Ascent Like Wolves. I also run the label Theoria Records. Got a lot of cool releases coming out on that as well. And yeah, really stoked on all of this. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to what we're doing and pump me up by telling me my music's good. Appreciate that. Needed the little ego boost. But yeah, man, you're a really cool dude. I really appreciate talking to you, and this has been great. Glad you found it.
I'm glad you guys sent it to me as well. And now I'm going to end with 3 very separate things. So 1, I want to make sure you guys get in the know with the difference between everything you know about them. And when it comes to following them online, make sure you guys check them out on their social medias. Check out the videos on YouTube. Make sure to be in touch with them, stream their music, whatever it might be. Instead of just being like, Kevin, do we have to search this stuff up? Hell no. Just take a look at the description of the podcast. I'm going to have everything there for you to say, find the difference between online. And I'm going to have every single link you could want from, so you guys can go follow their stuff online, share it, listen to it, stream it, tell your friends about it, and be like, hey, check this out, because honestly, that is a very, very good idea if you do.
Thanks, man.
And now the second thing, and I did this with Nick of Ascent Like Wolves, so Cody, you might know a little bit about this, but whenever I have a guest on the podcast or guests on the podcast that I absolutely enjoy having on the podcast, I like to make a little promise, because I want to thank you guys for being on the podcast. I love doing this. I'd love to do this with you guys again. So the promise is this, and you guys absolutely hit on this as well. This is not an if. It's a when. I get to see you guys play live for the first time. First round's on me.
You got it, buddy. I'll get you the second one then, but I'll buy your ticket, man. I would love to meet you and have you come out to a show. But
well,
hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon. Basically what's going to happen is all of a sudden you're going to start seeing me like and share your stuff. It's like, okay, why is he liking sharing stuff? Well, because I want to make sure I follow along with you guys and know when stuff's coming out. So when all of a sudden I see that and be like, okay, are they anywhere near me within the span of 2 hours or 3 hours? Okay, they might be in Minneapolis. Okay, make a little trip up there, bing, bang, boom. And you'll see me going crazy. You'll see me being that guy in the crowd being like, woo!
I love it. Please do.
Oh, one of the 1,000 being like, woo!
Maybe. One day, maybe.
One day, maybe. How about this? One day, hopefully, in 2022.
It's going to happen.
Optimism, man. Crushing it.
It's going to happen. So at this moment, guys, because of that promise and because I'd love to be able to not only be able to meet you, pay up on my promise, but also be able to talk to you on the podcast once again when more music comes out, get you guys back on, because this has been incredible. I will not end this podcast with goodbye, because that is a horrible, horrible idea. Why would you end this podcast with goodbye? Because that seems too final, right? I mean, I want to see you guys again. I want to talk to you guys again. So I'm going to end it with this. See you later.
Talk to you soon, man.
Whoa, folks, that was my review with Cody and Chris from the band The Difference Between. Now, you heard the whole entire spiel that we went through with this band and their 2 songs with these 2 guys, so you're going to want to get to know them. Of course, take a look at the description of the podcast. All the links for everything for The Difference Between are going to be there. You can easily check them out. Make sure you follow along with them, because man, I really like this. I like a lot of stuff that's coming out with post-hardcore in 2021. Capstan, the difference between caskets, it just keeps coming and coming. So be sure to follow and stream and share everything with your family, friends, along with everything from MSOT Rocks and the Corporate Girls Podcast. I want to thank you guys for listening and watching the episode on YouTube. Remember, you can follow MSOT Rocks on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel where we air all of these podcast videos. If you just want to listen to the audio version, you can stream on Spotify, Podcasts, and iHeart Radio. All the links are good for the podcast. Make sure you do it. So please follow, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your crazy neighbor, tell your grandpa if he's 92 years old, like my grandpa. Wait, this might come out his 93rd birthday, so woo! Alrighty, and also thank you to sponsor Phoenix Fitness for sponsoring this video. Again, you get 15% off at phoenixfitness.com. Use the code MSOTD at checkout. Your entire order. Thank you, Phoenix Fitness. Again, links here to the podcast for that. Man, I'm winded on that one. So that's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you for watching and listening to the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by MSOT Rocks, where rock and metal thrive. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single what is up to the big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah!